Hello. Today we will be viewing a PowerPoint presentation on the what, who, why, and how of English Language Proficiency Standards, also known as ELPS. In today's objectives, we will look at a content objectives where participants will develop background knowledge of why the language objectives are an essential part of lesson delivery for English language learners, or ELLs. They can also be known as Limited English Proficient Students, or LEP. The language objective for today will be that participants will orally discuss content and language objectives. Participants will also brainstorm language objectives using TEAK skills and will demonstrate their knowledge of language objectives by sharing with the group. What are the ELPS? The ELPS are federally required instructional standards as of 2007-2008 that are designed to ensure that ELLs are taught the academic English they need for school purposes. The ELPS do include the domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And the two components of the ELPS are cross-curricular second language, acquisition essential knowledge and skills, as well as proficiency level descriptors of beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. Who is responsible for the ELPS? Every teacher in any content or enrichment course who teaches ELLs must teach a language objective as well as a content objective. At the link below, the ELPS can be found for a hard copy. Who benefits from the ELPS? ELPS include instructions school districts must provide to give ELLs full opportunity to learn English and succeed academically. The ELPS are necessary in order to attain English proficiency, develop academic language, and meet the same challenging academic content and achievement standards that all children are expected to meet. And it's the law. How are the ELPS implemented? Well, let's talk content and language objectives. The content objectives are the TEAKs, the what, and the content of what will be taught. The language objective are the ELPS, the how, and the language that will be used. Teaching guidelines. First, select content objectives from the TEAKs. Provide academic language activities in which students read, write, listen to, discuss, and make presentations on chosen content. Teach and have students practice learning strategies with all activities. Here are some examples of some content and language objectives. An example in history. As you can see, the TEAK is 8.16a, to identify colonial grievances listed in the Declaration of Independence. Explain how those grievances were addressed in the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So our content objective would be for students to use a graphic organizer to identify colonial grievances in the Declaration of Independence. Our language objective, our ELPS, would be 3H, to narrate, describe, and explain with increasing specificity and detail as more English is acquired. So our language objective would be for the learner to identify and describe colonial grievances using the sentence stems below. Sentence stems are great resources for ELLs as it gives them a springboard to elaborate on what they need to explain. An ELA example of a content objective would be complete a timeline listing the events in order leading up to the climax of the selection. Our language objective could be, in the reading, highlight the important events in the story, highlight the exposition in red and the rising action in blue, and then they can explain to their partner their timeline using the words first, second, and then to show sequence. So collaboration amongst students is important in order to gain more vocabulary. A math example for content would be the students will be able to use constructions to explore attributes of geometric figures and to make conjectures about geometric relationships. The language objective could be the student will be able to use mathematical vocabulary to explain orally or in writing the attributes of geometric figures. They can also construct a Venn diagram to contrast and compare one geometric figure to another, or they can work in pairs to create a list of construction methodologies related to the significant attributes of each figure. So there's oral, working in pairs, there's also some writing, and there's explanation. Science. The student demonstrates that energy such as sound energy can travel through matter. Our language objective could be the student will use English to achieve academically in content areas. The students will follow oral and multi-step directions, and then they will make oral and written inferences and draw conclusions from the activity. Instructional strategies that can be used in the classroom are: students can act out meanings, teachers can activate prior knowledge and build upon students' background experience, adapt content-critical content and allow multiple learning opportunities in the classroom. The student can also highlight texts, create word banks, describe difficult concepts visually with the use of graphic organizers and other charts, as well as pictures. Assignments can be done orally and in written form. So having the assignment written on the board at the beginning of the class gives the student the entire hour to copy it. Also embed definitions and emphasize key vocabulary words. Some teacher behaviors are: focused and aligned content and language objectives, focus on academic language, model speaking, model read-alouds and think-alouds, model writing, encourages explanation of solutions, builds student background knowledge, facilitates cooperative learning, increases wait time, and pauses frequently. Especially by increasing wait time for your bilingual students gives them time to translate and produce oral or written language in English. Here you will see an ELPS quick reference format chart that has been created. The center has the language learning strategies that can be incorporated in all 4 domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And then you have the abbreviated ELPS of each of those domains. This is a great resource to have when planning and setting language goals for ELLs. We've made this chart so teachers can display them in their classroom as a reminder to incorporate strategies in all 4 domains. In the next several slides, you will see an even more abbreviated version of the ELPS in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. This is a great resource for teachers to have for just a quick reference on which ELPS to incorporate in their lesson plans. Our everyday goal is to include all 4 language domains in each lesson plan with the intention of actively developing language. Let's review today's objectives. The content objective: participants will develop background knowledge of why language objectives are an essential part of lesson delivery for English language learners, or ELLs, also known as Limited English Proficient Students, or LEPs. The language objective is: participants will orally discuss and categorize content and language objectives, as well as create and record language objectives using TEAC skills. Participants will also demonstrate their knowledge of language objectives by sharing with the group. Thank you for your attention. I hope this is a great resource to better implement the English Language Proficiency Standards in classrooms.